Inuyasha finally returns to television after 10 years with Yashahime the Half-Blood Princess. Hey guys, if this is your first time here, I am Sane Survive. Welcome to the channel. Hopefully you guys will stay around for these reviews for the run of this animation series. And as I just said, Inuyasha is finally back into the airways after 10 years since Inuyasha the Final Act aired its last episode in March. And before I continue, be sure to hit that like button for this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell when I upload new videos just like this. So now the first episode for Yashahime is titled Inuyasha Since Then, and the opening and ending themes for this series, phenomenal, great. A lot of little clues that will be coming out for this series, especially the little pearls that will have a major implication of the series later on. The music, of course, is phenomenal. And we get to see a lot of personality from the three main protagonists of this group, which is, of course, Toa, Moroha, and Setsuna. And with this episode, unless you're a very hardcore Inuyasha fan, or you just discovered this information about this week or last week, this is actually covering manga material, but most likely this will be the only episode for Yashahime that will cover any type of manga material from Yumiko Takahashi. And because since it was covering that chapter, a lot of nostalgia, this was basically a fan service episode for all the Inuyasha fans getting together, and basically the production staff rewarding us fans with some great memories and nostalgia. And we get to see what happens to some of the characters after the end of the series. But the episode starts off with Toa being apprehended by, it looks like a shogun or a political figure, with a very old man by him. And they happen to know Toa might be from the future, with them referring that she's from a land of Riwa, and telling them that another person has done there before. Obviously we know that's Kagome, coming from a place called Tokyo. And surprisingly, it has never been mentioned before in this series that any type of interference from the past could possibly lead to changes in the future. That has never actually happened in the original series with Kagome. Most likely it's because Kagome never really ran into or interacted with anyone that was political or very important from the past, but it was very interesting to see that this was actually the first time this actually came up. And of course, they actually called Toa the half-blooded princess, Yashahime. It's interesting to see how that's going to come up. And also, this was a flash forward, so we don't know the entire details of what led up to that, but of course the upcoming episodes will reveal that. And as we will see later on, the old man actually plays a bigger part of the story than we think, with him holding Kagome's bike seat and the shogun holding a book from the present day. And it actually reminds me a lot from Back to the Future 2, of possibly interacting and getting information from the future could affect the future itself and changing things, just like I just said, Back to the Future 2. The old man obviously goes into what happens to Kagome right after the series, and that's where the manga material does take place. Of course, this chapter that was covered was actually made for the 2001 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami incident, and Takahashi actually made this chapter to help out those. This takes place 6 months after the end of the series, where Inuyasha and Kagome come together, and we actually see Kagome and Sango come together doing stuff with Sango's 3 kids, and we actually learn that Kagome is actually in training to become a priest. Of course, we see Shippo, we see Kohaku, and then later on we see Moroku and Inuyasha dealing a demon, and it turns out that same demon that they were dealing with was actually a demon that Kikyo sealed 50 years before the start of the series, and somehow that demon ran away and got free. But obviously this demon is looking for the Shinko jewel, but unknowing to that demon, that jewel got destroyed at the very end of the series. But as we can see, with the end of the series, with Naraka being defeated, Moroku can't really do much anymore without his wind tunnel, and he's realizing that as well, that he can't really do anything of significance of it, but he's still useful in battle. But of course, when the information was revealed to them that that was the same demon that Kikyo sealed from Kaede, Inuyasha is afraid to tell Kagome of this information and news, thinking that she can't handle it since she's not Kikyo, but later on that comes out to bite him in the butt. And then later on we do see that same demon returning, trying to find Kagome, and he does, and thinking that she's Kikyo, just like in the original series. Almost at the arrows that Kagome used is happening to Kikyo, and that's how the demon is able to find her. But of course, Sango is able to help out, even with Shippo taking care of her kids. Murako is able to help out as well, as Kohaku going back, and actually learned that we do see Shishomaru and Ren together, but mostly the only reason why that demon that Kikyo sealed away was unable to attack them was because Shishomaru is guarding them. Of course, we do see jogging by them as always. And then later on, we do see Inuyasha going at it against the demon. And rather interesting, when Kagome and Inuyasha get together, and they actually defeat the demon very, very, very easily, so this was never really a problem with him in the first place. But then later on at the end, Kagome confronts Inuyasha about him not telling her everything what was going on with her. And of course, Kagome does the typical sit boy to punish Inuyasha for not being so confident and trusting. She is as good, if not better, than Kikyo. And of course, Inuyasha takes that in stride, and of course, he obviously will make improvements to that. But interestingly enough, if you remember, at the very beginning of the episode, the old man, we see a four-eyed owl. And it turns out that four-eyed owl was actually the old man. It looks like that four-eyed owl demon has something in plan for Kagome. He might have something planned that could screw up the whole future of this series. Of course, possibly changing events, maybe having demons rule in the future. But of course, at the end of the flashback, Toa is actually rescued by Moroha and Satsuna. And of course, this is before the Shogun and the Owl Demon was able to get any information out from Toa about the future. And then before I forget, we actually see the Root Demon. Some of his remnants was able to go back to the tree where the bone-eating well is located, so somehow that connects to how Toa is able to go to the future, as we see in the previews of this series. It's how he's able to be found by Kagome's family in the future. So that most likely has to do with everything that's up this series. But of course, the Four Owl does have something planned. He probably might be the main antagonist of this series, but it is yet to remain to be seen. There might be someone else behind those scenes. But overall, this episode was a nostalgia kicker that rewarded Inuyasha fans, reminded them of the great times. But overall, it was great seeing our favorite characters back in action. But we are now have to be introduced to this new trio of protagonists, the next generation. Of course, those are Inuyasha and Shishomaru's children. But of course, the next episode preview does show us how Toa goes to the future and comes back to only find that his her twin sister is somehow lost all the memory of each other. But of course, we get to see later on how that happens. Like I said, overall great episode. Thumbs up. Great episode to watch, especially if you're an Inuyasha fan. So hopefully the trio of protagonists can able to live up to the mantle of the original cast. Yes, thank you guys very much for watching for this video. Tell me down below, what did you think of this video? Did you love this episode? Did you hate it? Did you love it? Give me any type of criticism of this episode. I will greatly appreciate it. And be sure to hit that like button and hit the notification bell whenever I upload new videos just like this. Now, this is Stay and Survive, signing out. I'll see you guys later. Catch you in the next review video. Bye.